Let's talk about something that is, let's be honest, incredibly frustrating. Why is it that even when we choose our words so carefully, our message can completely fall flat? Well, it turns out the answer isn't just in the words themselves, but in this kind of hidden code that's running in the background of every single conversation we have.
Oh, you know the feeling, right? You've spent forever crafting that perfect email, or you've rehearsed how you're going to give some feedback, and you've laid out this absolutely flawless argument, and then crickets. Or worse, the other person is confused, or frustrated, or even offended. It happens to all of us, and it's proof that there's more going on than just the words we pick.
You know, for so long, we've all kind of been sold this myth. If you just speak clearly, if you're articulate, you'll be understood. Simple as that. But we all know deep down that's just not the whole story, is it? Even the smartest, most well-spoken people hit communication walls. So what are we all missing? What's really going on?
All right, so let's really dig into this problem. The thing is, most communication breakdowns have very little to do with actual language mistakes. Nope. The real issues are way deeper. They're about all these unspoken rules, hidden histories, and the fact that we're all seeing the world in slightly different ways.
Yeah, when a conversation goes wrong, it's usually because of these invisible forces that are at play. Think about the history between two people, or the assumptions they're both making without saying them out loud, or even just the power dynamic in the room. This is the stuff bubbling right under the surface that can completely hijack even the clearest message. Okay, so if communication isn't just about clearly transmitting information from point A to point B, then what is it? Let's get into the real rules of the game here. Communication is not a one-way street. It's actually a creative act, something that we build together. And just look at the key words in this definition: dynamic and relational. This is so important. Communication isn't like we're just zapping a data file from one brain to another. It's a living, breathing process where we negotiate what things mean. And that meaning changes based on our relationship and the exact situation we're in. And this just breaks down that complexity perfectly. I mean, think about it. It's relational, right? The exact same words, "we need to talk," means something totally different coming from your boss versus from your best friend. It's transactional. We're sending and receiving signals constantly at the same time. It's irreversible. You can't just unsend a hurtful comment. And of course, it's all about context. So, this right here is the absolute key. You don't get to decide what your words mean all by yourself. The meaning is something that we literally build together in that moment of interaction. What you intend to say, well, that's only half the story. Now let's take that idea and look at maybe the most powerful hidden factor of them all: culture. And I'm not just talking about holidays and food. Culture is basically the operating system for our communication. It's running in the background all the time. Yeah, culture gives us our default settings for how we interact. It teaches us how to show respect, when it's okay to speak, how to disagree with someone. It even defines what we consider to be a logical argument. And the craziest part, these rules are almost always unspoken. We often don't even realize we're breaking them until, whoops, it's too late, and we're in the middle of a huge misunderstanding. So how do we even begin to see these invisible rules? Well, thankfully, there are frameworks like Hofstede's cultural dimensions that can help. This model basically gives us a language to talk about these really deep-seated cultural patterns. So let's just grab one example to see how powerful this can be in the real world. Let's just look at this one dimension: individualism versus collectivism. Okay, so in a culture that's highly individualistic, standing up in a meeting and saying, "I disagree," might be seen as honest, helpful, and constructive. But in a more collectivist culture, that same direct statement could be seen as incredibly disruptive and disrespectful, because the main goal is to maintain group harmony. And here's the kicker: neither one is right or wrong.
They're just different playbooks. All right, so culture is a huge one, but it's definitely not the only thing that can get in the way. There are a ton of other obstacles that can distort our messages. Let's think of this next part as our guide to the communication obstacle course. And wow, just look at this list. These barriers are literally everywhere. They can be psychological, right? Like our own emotions or our biases. They can be about semantics, using jargon that other people just don't get. They can even be organizational, like when a really strict company hierarchy stops people from giving honest feedback. Let's zero in on one of the absolute trickiest ones here: perceptual barriers. This just means that two people can see the exact same thing happen or hear the exact same words and walk away with completely different understandings of what went down. And why? Because every one of us is filtering reality through our own unique lens built from our past experiences, our beliefs, and our emotions. And this is what makes it so hard to overcome. It's like this quote says: our brains are basically hardwired to look for evidence that proves what we already think is true. It's a phenomenon called selective perception, and it means we can be completely blind to information that challenges our worldview. It makes true understanding incredibly difficult to achieve. So, with all of these hidden dynamics, these cultural codes, these cognitive barriers working against us, how on earth do we ever manage to get it right? Well, the answer, the secret, isn't about learning to talk better. It's about shifting our focus entirely and embracing the single most powerful communication tool we have: listening. But first things first, we've got to be crystal clear on this. Hearing and listening are not the same thing, not even close. Hearing is passive. It just happens. It's what your ears do automatically. But listening, oh, that's an active sport. It's a conscious choice, a skill that you have to work on. It's the act of trying to construct meaning, not just letting sound waves hit your eardrums. In fact, true active listening is a whole disciplined 5-stage process. It starts with actually receiving the message, and that means paying attention to the nonverbal stuff too. Then you have to work to understand it, evaluate it, remember it, and only then do you respond in a way that proves you actually did all those other steps. It's a full body, full mind workout. So when you boil it all down, it really comes to this. We've spent our entire lives being taught how to speak better, how to write better, how to present better, but the real path to mastering communication isn't about perfecting our output. It's about mastering our input. The best communicators are, without a doubt, the best listeners. And that's what we have for you in this explainer. But I want to leave you with a final thought, a challenge. Think about one conversation you have coming up this week. Just one. What could you learn, and how might the whole outcome change if you went into it with the sole intention of listening just to understand? Not to reply, not to win, just to understand. Think about it.